Welcome to your weekly Mainly Facts Roundup. You'll find interesting stories, incredible facts, and buried history here. Let's get started. Am I the a-hole for kicking a girl out of my party for calling her boyfriend daddy? I, 24 female, was hosting a small-scale hangout with about 15 friends. One girl, 23 female, is an acquaintance of mine and she came with her boyfriend. We were all sitting around in the main room and eating pizza when she came to sit and sat on her boyfriend's lap. A little weird since there were open seats, but I didn't say anything. While we were talking as a group, she would always refer to her boyfriend as Daddy. She would interject things with like, Daddy just bought me a new stand mixer, and Daddy looks so handsome in this shirt, right? I told him to get it. At first, we thought she was joking or messing with us, but she continued doing it, and the rest of us were side-eyeing each other and were kind of uncomfortable. I asked her if she could save the pet names for home because some of us were feeling uncomfortable. She got upset and told me to stop making such a big deal over a nickname and S-shaming her. I told her that wasn't my intention at all, but I would appreciate it if she could stop because it was killing the vibe. She started ranting at me about a whole lot of stuff, and I just told her and her boyfriend to please leave. Her boyfriend was peed too, but they eventually got out. The rest of the evening was less uncomfortable and way more peaceful. A few of my friends who didn't know the girl I kicked thanked me for making her leave, but we all kind of felt awkward because of what happened. Am I the a-hole? I don't think that you're the a-hole because I'm totally open for some people have different levels of comfort when it comes to intimate things in public. Like the sitting on the lap and stuff like that. There are some couples who are just like that in public, and that's fine. And there are other couples who absolutely aren't. They don't want public displays of affection, at least not that go that far. And I think that kind of stuff I wouldn't judge other people for. I think if you had kicked her out for sitting on her boyfriend's lap or something, that might have been too much. But the use of daddy, okay, I'm gonna try and put my biases aside because I don't like that. I personally do not like the idea of that. I once had someone on a dating app, a gentleman who was younger, 19, and I was 36, and he's like, I like daddies. And I was like, this will never happen. Goodbye. So I'm personally uncomfortable, and I would be uncomfortable at this party hearing that. And when you're at a party with people, I don't know if there's a perfect set line of hey, this is the comfort line of people, please don't cross it. But I think if enough people at a party are hey, we're not super cool with this is too much, then I think the people doing that have to kind of respect that, it's a gathering of friends, respect your friends. So yeah, I think I side with you. I don't think you're an a-hole. Girl assumed I was hitting on her, gave her the same response she gave me. This was back in 08 or 09. I was in Quito, Ecuador. I was staying at a hostel and was there for just over 3 weeks. Less than a block away, there was an Irish pub. This pub has really good bar food that wasn't on the menu of a lot of the other restaurants in the area, so because of that, it was a mixed crowd, popular with locals and backpackers because of the proximity to the hostel. I'm at the bar with some other guests from the hostel, and we're expecting a few more to join us. Next to me is a bar stool, and on the other side of the bar stool are two women talking. They're obviously friends. In Spanish, I ask the woman closest to me if she's using this empty chair and is it okay if I grab it. Spanish is not my first language, but I can still speak it clearly and confidently and grew up speaking it since I was a kid. She says to me in Spanish with a smirk on her face that she does not understand me and she does not speak English. I ask for the chair again in Spanish while motioning to it, and she says again that she doesn't speak English. I ended up getting the chair from a high-top table that was behind us that no one was using. At this point, she turns to her friend, and I hear them mumble, I don't know why he's talking to me, he, and I hear them chuckling to themselves, assuming I was hitting on her, I guess, and she rejected me? Cue petty revenge. Throughout the evening, I know she heard me conversing in Spanish with the bartender, so by this time, she knew I definitely spoke Spanish. The napkin dispenser is directly in front of me, and she asks me in Spanish if I can hand it to her. I look at her confused, and I point to the napkin dispenser, then look back at her and lean in a little as if I didn't hear what she said. She again says that she needs napkins, and if I can hand her the napkin dispenser, all in Spanish. I look at the dispenser and then her, and very clearly I say, Lo siento, no hablo inglés. I'm sorry, I don't speak English. She gives me shocked Pikachu face and she turned bright red and then I give her the cold shoulder. Don't flatter yourself, lady. I wasn't hitting on you. I wanted the damn bar stool. I mean, honestly, that's harmless enough. I mean, maybe she didn't understand you for some reason, though it seems like if you're that confident in Spanish, asking for a stool seems kind of basic enough. So it does seem like she was kind of messing with you and being a bit of a jerk. So yeah, she kind of got what she was asking for. And in the end, I'm sure, as you said, you got your chair and I'm sure she was able to find napkins elsewhere. So yeah, I don't see a problem with any of this. Folks, just don't always assume people are hitting on you, but also do be careful in bars because sometimes people are creeps. So I guess I get being a little on edge. I don't know. No, yeah, whatever. Am I the a-hole for accidentally ruining my girlfriend's career? Hi everyone, I'm in a tough spot right now and I'm not sure if I'm the a-hole or not. My girlfriend, 27 female, let's call her Sarah, and I, 26 male, have been together for 3 years. She's always been passionate about her job as a teacher and has worked really hard to build up her career. However, a few weeks ago I accidentally stumbled upon some photos of Sarah on Instagram that I'd never seen before. They were pictures of her in some very revealing clothing and some of them were even nude. I was shocked and confronted her about it and she told me that she used to be a lingerie model before becoming a teacher. She said she stopped doing it because she didn't want it to affect her career and she thought I knew about it already. I didn't know how to react at first, but eventually I told a few of my friends about it. One of my friends is a gossip and ended up telling someone who works at the school where Sarah teaches. Long story short, the photos somehow got into the hands of the school board and Sarah was fired for unprofessional behavior. Sarah is devastated and blames me for ruining her career. She says that I should have kept my mouth shut and that I betrayed her trust. I feel terrible about what happened, but I didn't know that it would lead to this. Am I the a-hole for accidentally ruining my girlfriend's career? This is a tough one, and I genuinely feel kind of conflicted about this because on one hand, it's something that she was worried about affecting her career. She told you that, and you went and spread this information to other people, which you probably shouldn't have done without talking to her about it first. Hey, since you're kind of worried about this information existing, do you want me to keep this under wraps or something? Conversations need to happen. And I'm not saying that you not having that conversation makes you an a-hole. I don't think so. But it should have happened. And so I think that's at least maybe a bit of a mistake on your part and her part. But also she said that she thought you already knew about it and it's public on Instagram. I don't think they're allowed to have nude photos on Instagram. I don't know. I'm not on there. There's too much social media. I can't do it. But I mean, if she has that stuff publicly available, shouldn't she be taking it down? Or I guess maybe it might be owned by, if she was doing work as a lingerie model, then, maybe she had to keep it up via the contract or something. That kind of stuff gets a little dicey. So, but yeah, I mean, she shouldn't have been fired for doing that. That's absurd. Being a model, and even if it's revealing or nude or whatever, shouldn't preclude you from being a teacher. So I think that's wrong and ridiculous of the school, but you should have the conversation with her before you spread information that she has let you know is sensitive and could affect her career. So always check with your partner beforehand. I don't think that you're an a-hole, but I do think you should have been more careful and need to communicate better in the future. Both of you. Am I the a-hole for sleeping with my ex's best friend? Okay, the title seems a little extreme, I know, and fair warning, I am on mobile, so it might look / sound weird. We need to start off with the best friend for some background. I have known A since sophomore year of high school. We are in our senior year now. I always knew there's been something between us, but we were both not ready for anything. Within the 2 years of knowing each other, I can say he is one of my best guy friends, and I love him platonically. He's been with me through heartbreaks, addictions, therapy, etc. He knows me so well and knows how to help me when I'm in need. Now, my ex, G, we met in our junior year of high school in class together. When we first met, I was in an awkward relationship and was being cheated on. He was one of the first people I told since we had gotten very close within a couple months. after the relationship, we only got closer. We would hang out with both our friends, A included. A encouraged us to get together, and so we did. However, the relationship was very rushed, and we did not think about boundaries, expectations, or anything in a relationship until after our first fight. I'm not saying the relationship was bad. In fact, he actually helped me a lot mentally, but I wasn't mentally there for it, and I don't think he was either. That ended the relationship after 6-ish months. We have been no contact since then. However, A and G still hang out multiple times a week. They've been best friends for years since middle school, and it was never an issue with me. But now I keep getting told I effed up or I'm the one in the wrong for this. A came over to my house. My mom isn't really worried about stuff happening since we have an open communication household, aka she's there to help me in times of need and I don't have to hide things from her. And, well, we started watching Pitch Perfect and it led to us play fighting in my room. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary, it happened before, but maybe there was something else. I was tempted to kiss him then, but I know it would be wrong since he's my ex's best friend. Anyway, he left and we planned to hang out the next day since he only lives a 5-minute walk away. My mom wasn't home again, but she met A and was okay with us being alone. We never finished Pitch Perfect, so that's what we did at first. But the same thing happened again and we started to play fight in my room again. I told him to do it, implying to him to make the first move, but I ended up doing it first anyway. Long story short, we ended up sleeping together. I don't know how to feel because it was nice and I want to do it again, but I can also see a genuine relationship with him. He's been texting me a lot and calling me love and hun. I just need advice and to see if I'm actually the a-hole. I know not everyone will agree with me, but I'm a firm believer that the whole idea of this, like, oh, you can't date your friend's exes or your ex's this or that, like, I think it's kind of ridiculous, especially if you end things somewhat amicably, if you can be adults about it and talk. I don't think that just because you dated one person that you can never be with their friend, even if you'd be a perfect match. So I don't think that's an a-hole thing at all. And it's been quite a bit of time. It sounds like 6 months, 2 years, I don't know. There's at least been a year or something there. So yeah, no, I don't think that's an a-hole move at all. I would also say don't feel like you need to rush into things, and folks around that age also, I'd recommend don't rush into anything too intimate either. I don't know, it can muddy stuff up, but this is just the old man in me coming out, so do what you're gonna do, please be safe, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I don't think this person is an a-hole at all. Disagree with me if you want in the comments, but my high school and after high school fiance and I broke up. She got together with my best friend at the time, and they're married, and they're a perfect couple. So why would I not want that? I like them both as people, so I should want that. I just found out that the babysitter was breastfeeding my son without my consent? Oh. I, 28 female, just found out that the babysitter was breastfeeding my son without my consent. I, 28 female, am a single working mom. I remained pregnant in a previous relationship with my ex and decided to carry on the pregnancy since I was very excited to become a mom. I was able to get a 12-week unpaid maternity leave from work, and after that, since I live very far away from my family and had no one who could help me, I started looking for a babysitter. Unfortunately enough, in no time, I found a fellow 32 female mom who agreed to come to my house and watch and take care of my newborn 5 days a week for 9 hours, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. She was super nice and bonded with my child pretty easily, and since she seemed very skilled, I was very serene. I didn't give her many rules to follow other than a summary of everything that's happening during my work shifts at home and that she isn't allowed in my bedroom. Before going to work, I always made sure to leave all the necessaries like diapers, pacifier, his favorite plushie, etc. on the table. Also leaving the milk I pumped in baby bottles inside the fridge, which she was instructed to use. The first 2 months went absolutely great with no issues whatsoever. When I came home, she would summarize everything that happened / she did, and I always found everything in perfect order. Plus, she used baby bottles, so she was following the indications I gave her. However, some strange things started happening during my newborn's 6th month. He started refusing my breasts altogether, refusing to latch on, and after a while of me gently trying, he would start to get annoyed. But he accepted the biberon with my milk just fine. After talking with the babysitter, who was a mother before me, and doing some research, I concluded that it could have been something related to the fact that he got used to the biberon, or to the fact that I may have a different smell. It was a very stressful period, so it could have been. Either way, I didn't think too much of it since he was still getting fed, until it became impossible for me to keep pumping because I wasn't producing enough milk anymore. So I decided to switch to the formula and gave instructions to her like usual. Also, I decided to start weaning my child, and I asked her to introduce some solid foods too. However, after 2 months at his 8th month, I started to feel like something wasn't adding up. In 2 days, it seemed like I was using way more formula than her in 5 days, so I confronted her about it and asked her if she was using formula, and she confirmed. I then thought it was my impression, even because the baby had never complained. However, something was still troubling me. So the next day I hid a GoPro in my living room and an old phone recording in the kitchen just to make sure. And when I came back and watched the recordings, everything started to make sense. I was horrified. After I went away, she took my baby, sat on the sofa, and started breastfeeding him. Not once, but thrice for a lot of time. I was shocked. My baby was latching to another woman's breast after he refused mine, and now it started to make sense why. But not only that, she never went to the kitchen to get formula or to get some solid food for the baby, but only to cook for herself. And while she was eating, she was still breastfeeding my baby, keeping him with one hand under the butt. But the worst thing is, she was trying to get herself to be called mama by the newborn. She sat him on her legs and started saying things like, "Say mama, who am I? Mama," and my son uttered it, and she replied back with, "That's my good boy," and kissed him. After that, I was trying to get myself not to puke. I was heartbroken, and I felt like I trusted the worst woman I could ever trust. After that, I immediately called her and confronted her at my house. I told her I knew everything, and I showed her the videos. Her response was that my son needed a real mother in her life, not a mother available only 2 days a week, and also that she was not going to feed formula to a baby of frozen milk, but that she was only going to feed him with real milk, admitting that she had done it since day one. I will not report the entire discussion because after that I wasn't polite at all. Needless to say, I fired her immediately. Not only did she breastfeed my son without my consent, but she was even trying to replace me. I am horrified and broken. Right now, I took a week out of work. I need to process everything that happened, and also I need to reconnect with my son. I feel like our family was violated. Holy crap, is that just not okay? Like, I don't care what your stance is on like formula and stuff like that. Like, it would have been one thing if the mom knew, like, you know, if this mother was like, well, hey, I'm producing plenty of milk, I could do the breastfeeding for you so you could have it naturally, have a discussion with her. She might have been okay with that, but you did it behind her back, which is creepy. So for the person writing this, that right there is such a huge red flag for you to just be doing this behind the back and not even giving the mother's milk. Like, I don't necessarily think the actual biological mother's milk is more special than other milk, but she was leaving it. Use that milk. And then to be like, yeah, I'm using the formula and giving solid food, but you're still just breastfeeding and having the baby call you mama? No, that's super creepy. Like, that's enough to where it feels it should be illegal. Like, it feels like this person should be able to prosecute this woman or something, because that's just not cool. You don't do that stuff with other people's kids. That's such a weird invasion. Like, ugh. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend to shut up after she insulted my sister's thighs? I'm 30, and my 12-year-old sister is living with me right now because mom and pops are vulnerable, so it made more sense for me to care for my sis for the time being. She's a really great kid, and to be honest, I feel in a lot of ways like she's my own kid because my mom and dad don't speak English, so I kind of had to raise my sis in ways that they couldn't. Hard to explain, but I'm sure anyone with a secondary culture will get what I mean. My mom and dad are great parents, but having an English-speaking person to guide you through crap when you live in an English-speaking country is invaluable in my opinion, and my sister trusts me with stuff she won't necessarily trust my parents with. Anyway, My girlfriend was FaceTiming me and my sister walked past in shorts and a t-shirt cause it's hot. My sister girlfriend waited till my sister had left the area, but not the room, and made a face and said, maybe feed her less, OP, her thighs are kinda chunky. I saw red and told her to shut the F up, just came out of my mouth, and immediately ended the call. My sister is a bit chubby, but for F's sake, who says stuff like that about a 12-year-old girl? Literally, everybody I know has been texting me that I'm a piece of crap boyfriend and that how can I disrespect my girlfriend like that? I am expecting an apology from her, but to my shock, everybody is expecting me to apologize. So, am I the a-hole? While I think that maybe the way you told her not to say that might have been a little bit on the harsh side, and I could see at the very least maybe going, hey, sorry I said that so harshly, but... And then you get to follow it up with, she's a 12-year-old kid. Her body is changing. She's going through stuff. She's growing. You don't criticize her. And she's at an age, if she heard you, that could have, effects on her. Like, who knows how much she might look up to this girlfriend and value her opinion, and hearing something like that could be heartbreaking. It's a 12-year-old kid. I've known plenty of kids who they were stick thin when they were 12 and grew up to be bigger, and kids who were bigger at that age grew up to be skinny. They're growing, they're changing. You don't say that about 12-year-olds. So your girlfriend was absolutely in the wrong to say that, and it was a really rude, cruel thing to say. So she does owe you an apology. At the very most, like I said, you can maybe say, I'm sorry that I was, so terse and cut you off immediately. But I still don't think it makes you an a-hole. I don't, because you were in the right to call her out for that crap. That wasn't okay. Story 2. My parents cut my beard when I was sleeping. My parents had a strict clean shave policy when I was growing up, but now I am an adult and now live on my own. I'd grown a kind of long French beard during the COVID lockdown and was visiting my family once the travel restrictions were relaxed. My parents are hardcore Islamophobes and they were horrified seeing my Muslim beard, and they asked me to shave it because people might think I had converted to Islam and it's going to tarnish my family's reputation. I basically told them to F off and mind about their pubes rather than my beard. Today I was sleeping on the couch and my mom cut my beard off and now it's an ugly mess and I have no option but to shave it off, and I can't effing leave this place as I'm under 14-day home quarantine as I traveled from another state, and I feel they have won for now. Wow! Like, what a ridiculous thing to do. I know that your parents are doing it from like a place of concern because they don't want you to they don't want people to be afraid of you and possibly harm you. So we have to think, yes, this is coming from a place of concern. They're like, people are going to think that you're a terrorist or something. That's what it kind of sounds like they're thinking. And okay, have that concern, parents, but this is an adult person. They still get to make their choices. And honestly, I'm speaking honestly here. If I was that person, my trust in you would be reduced so much that I would want to see you less. The fact that you chose to alter my body, even a beard, something that's going to grow back, that is such an invasion. And it shows that you're not even listening to my concerns or my wants and desires. Like, that would harm our relationship in a fairly permanent way. So, folks, if you're out there, if you're a parent thinking of doing something like this because you're concerned for your kid, really think of the ramifications, because it might seem minor and that it can just grow back, but this really does bring about this really uncomfortable issue of invasion and privacy that could have lasting consequences to your relationship with a kid. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for not giving the mother of my dead husband's child his possessions? My, 30 female, and my husband got married when we were 25 after 6 years. He passed away in an accident in April. A few weeks before the accident, I found out that he had a one-night stand with a woman who he worked with. When he died, I hadn't decided yet what was going to happen in our relationship. We entered counseling and were still living together, but obviously it was hectic. As I wasn't sure if we were going to divorce, I decided not to tell our families and only confided in a few close friends and my therapist. I didn't want opinions from everyone. everyone. I also didn't tell his family when he died. There was no reason to. A few weeks ago, the affair partner reached out to me. She's 5 months pregnant and preparing to raise the baby. She wanted me to tell his family because she wants her child to have a relationship with his family and be connected to his culture. I said I wouldn't do this and simply passed along their contact information. Crap hit the fan. I am close with his brothers, and I thought that they were going to raise him from the dead and kill him again. Apologies for the dark humor. They're coming around to the idea of having a relationship with the baby, but I do not want to, nor has the mother offered, which is fine. The mother has gotten back in touch with me to ask for some of my husband's possessions. She wants his clothes, his books, his record collection, and bizarrely, his wedding ring, for the baby to feel connected to its father. I've made it very clear to her that I will be giving her nothing of the sort. His parents and brother have some of his stuff, and she can have access to things like that through them. She kept pushing, and I lost my temper and called her an outrageous bee who should find some shame. I wouldn't be opposed to passing some of the stuff along to the child via my in-laws when they're older and can appreciate it. Not the wedding ring, which was the worst request in my opinion, but other sentimental stuff. I've also retained a lawyer to look into whether I owe the child any money legally from my husband's passing. If I don't, I may set up a trust fund for them when they're an adult with their money because I don't need it, and that seems fair. I just do not want to give this woman all I have left of my husband. I do not trust her with any of it. She thinks I'm a bitter, raging monster bee and an a-hole, and my in-laws are divided. My in-laws are largely supportive, but some think that I need to give some of his stuff to her and the baby. Some of his brothers have told me that they're sympathetic, but that I'm behaving like an a-hole and a baby by not cooperating for the sake of the child. I'm unsure whether the complicated grief is clouding my judgment. Oh boy, you came to the wrong place because I have no idea. Okay, let's think. I mean, I think holding on to the stuff until the child is a bit older, wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe share a couple of the records or things that were maybe sentimental to the father, because that would be nice for the child to have, and it's no fault of the child, and I don't know if this person that he cheated on you with was knowledgeable about the fact that he was married or whatnot. I mean, I don't know. But even if she was, that's still not her child's fault. And it would be nice for the kid to have some of that stuff. As far as giving it to this woman right away and everything, I don't think you owe her that. I think you're in the right to want to hang on to that stuff until the kid is older. And while you don't need to have a relationship with this kid, I think that you are right. Hang on to that stuff. Maybe pass some of it along through the in-laws so the kid can have it, when this child can actually appreciate it. What is a baby going to do with records? I guess maybe get raised listening to them. But I still think it would be more meaningful to be a little older and hey, these were some of your father's favorite records and stuff. And the fact that you'd be willing to put aside some of, his money in a trust for the kid, I think is also great. But yeah, a actual baby, I don't think necessarily needs that stuff. So I don't think you're being an a-hole. I think you're within your right to at the very least want to hold off. You may, depending on how willing this other woman is to listen, just explain look, I'll hang on to this stuff. We'll pass it along when the kid's older and you think they can appreciate it. But for now, I'd like to hang on to it. And if she throws a fit, then I don't know. I think you tried. You did your best. Story 2. Rude delivery driver wants a review. We'll give him a review. Several years ago, I briefly worked at B-Dubs, a popular wing restaurant. It's on campus, so it's utterly hell during football season. I was a hostess, so a big part of my job was inputting and handing out online orders to customers and delivery drivers. Part of our online order procedure was we needed the customer or delivery driver to sign the receipt for their order to confirm it was picked up. A lot of the drivers would sign and write something like, "Please review," or 5 stars next to their signature. We had an ability in our system to go back through orders and review the driver, but we were usually too busy to do so. We saw a lot of the same guys pretty regularly because it's a large campus right near the city. Most of them understood that if the order was just put in, it could take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes for it to be ready. Wings need 12 minutes to cook, plus if there was anything put on them, plus how busy we were. But this one dude, despite being here a lot, was just an absolute D. We hostesses are not cooks and have no control over how fast things get done. He knew this. We told him as much every single time he was in, but he would still stand right at the counter, pace back and forth, huff and puff, and make snide comments at us while waiting for his order. Eventually it would come up and he'd snatch it out of our hands and storm off. The last straw was when he snapped at the new girl and made her cry. I was livid, but there was nothing I could do. After he left, it got slow for a while. I was organizing delivery receipts when I realized how I could get back at him. Like I said, he was a regular and was also one of those guys who would always write, "Please review," on their receipts. The receipts list the driver's name on them. After finding his name on the receipt, I went through our online order tablet and found every single order as far back as it went and gave this effer a 1-star review on every single order he ever picked up from us. Do you want a review? I'll give you an effing review. For those of you that haven't done delivery, your driver rating is based on an average from all customers who rate you. A single 1-star could take you from a 4.9, my average, to a 4.7 to 4.8 if you didn't have a lot of runs under your belt. I don't know about other apps, but I know the one I worked for required you to have your rating at a certain average to be allowed to continue driving, like no lower than 4.3 or something. Several 1-star ratings could devastate someone's rating. Also, review bombing the driver has no impact on the customer. A couple of days later, he's back to pick up an order. Suddenly, he's now the kindest, politest, and most patient driver we've ever had. Strange. Wonder what gave him that change of heart. This time, when he signs his receipt, he wrote 5 stars, please. So I did delivery driving for one of these apps once. I won't name which one, but yeah, your rating is important. And also, every bit of time is money for you. Like, you're constantly calculating, like, I'm making this much on my order, I have to drive this far, and sitting and waiting for an order to get ready, it's not like I'm getting paid by the hour for it. Like, time is money. And so I can understand a driver getting a little antsy about that kind of stuff, but they do also have to understand that, yeah, these things take time to cook or whatever, and it's frustrating, but you still have to be nice. Chances are you're going to encounter these restaurants a bunch in your area. And it doesn't, just because your time is so precious to you, doesn't mean they can just cook stuff faster or whatever. So don't be a jerk or this will happen to you and you're going to deserve it, I'm sorry to say. If you want to be mad at anyone, be mad at how these apps are set up, or be mad at the customers who, like, don't give you any tip whatsoever, even though you had to wait 35 minutes for their gigantic $150 order, and you get to their house and they don't give you a damn thing. Oh, what a great hour that was. I have bitterness. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for signing up my girlfriend for a social etiquette class before meeting my family? Girlfriend and I have been together for a little under 3 months, and we agreed it's time for her to meet my family. For some context, I'm blessed and had a fortunate upbringing. My girlfriend, on the other hand, faced some challenges in her life from a young age, particularly financial challenges. She's a beautiful, interesting person despite all of the hardships she's faced. The only problem is that she lacks the manners that my family typically expects from someone I'm in a relationship with. My girlfriend is the first, less fortunate woman I'm dating. For that reason, I made the effort to prepare her for her first dinner with my family. I got her signed up for an online social etiquette course and thought this was a good idea. However, when I told her, she was furious. She claimed that I was obviously embarrassed to be with her and that I should just marry a rich girl instead. She even accused me of being just another white privileged guy. To make matters worse, she said that it's racially insensitive of me to feel the need to teach her how to behave. So, am I the complete a-hole here? Explanations are more than welcome. I mean, clearly one of you does need to take some lessons on social etiquette, but it's not her. I think that you're probably the a-hole in this situation. Here's my point. Even if it would be a good idea for her to learn some etiquette because your parents are weirdly snobby or something, which, no, I don't really think so, but you ask her first. You ask her, like, hey, are you going to be comfortable meeting my parents? They're kind of like weird upper class. They're kind of weirdly rigid and strict and everything. Like, do you want me to like teach you some stuff or, do a class or whatever? And she might say, no, aren't you okay with me as I am? I mean, even, I don't know why you have to ask. Just if you care about her and she is important to you, that should be enough. And if your parents have a problem with that, you tell them as much. Hey, I care about this person. I'm not concerned about your weird ideas for manners and stuff like that, okay? Just a number of the ways that you've put some stuff here, it sounds like it's coming across insensitive. And I do genuinely know this person. I think they're coming from a place of good intentions for the most part, or decent intentions, I think. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. You're going about it the wrong way. Accept people for who they are. Don't try and change them, to deal with your family unless that's what they want. If you tell her, hey, they're strict and uptight or whatever, and she's like, ugh, I don't want to embarrass myself, then help her. Otherwise, or offer to help her. But don't sign her up without telling her. That comes across as a major a-hole move, and it makes you kind of an a-hole in this situation. But your heart, I think, is in the right place. Just bad execution. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for calling my sister a crappy parent because of their kid's name? Okay, so just a little context because this topic is incredibly touchy for me. I am a man who was given a woman's name at birth. A good example is naming your son Alice. It's not what my name was, but it's close. My parents are hippies and gave their oldest son a girl's name to stick it to the man, and I will never forgive them for it. That name caused me to be bullied and damaged my professional life in ways I cannot describe. My sister is pregnant with her first child, a girl. She and her husband are ecstatic. It just sucks that she inherited my parents' stupid propensity to see their children as fashion statements. Last night, she revealed to the family the name of her daughter. It's Krstxl. Krxstxl. She wants to name her daughter Krstxl. Confused, the name is pronounced Crystal. Thank you. I already don't like that name, but it's at least appropriate. I was not surprised to learn that my mom helped come up with the name. When she told me, I told her it was a terrible idea. If she wants to name her Crystal, name her Crystal. She tried to explain to me why the X's are there, and I just told her it does not matter. She's naming a human, not a dog. I don't care what kind of fashion statement she's trying to make. This is a person who will have to live with that name until they die or have it changed. She and my mom brushed me off as just complaining because I was never able to accept my name. I told my sister she was being either selfish, stupid, or an incredibly strong combination of the two if she thinks her daughter will want a stupid name like Crystal. We got into an argument and I told her I already see her and her husband as crappy parents for using their kid to be off-brand with her name, and left right after. My sister's not taking it well at all, and my mom is furious with me. I'm starting to wonder if I was too harsh. I will not change my opinion on that incredibly stupid name, but I'm wondering if branding her as a crappy parent was too far. For starters, I will agree, there are some parents that seem to think naming their child is a chance for them to do something like wacky or unique or funny, and it should be to a degree, but this person is right. Like, if you give your kid a really out there kind of name, it's going to get them made fun of, and it's gonna suck for that kid. They're not gonna appreciate that you named them something like Merlin, which yes, that's someone I went to school with, and that's rough for them, Like, I'm sure as an adult, some of these people learn to appreciate that. And, you get to be like, as an adult, like, wow, my name is so unique, but it's really tough for kids. I will say in this instance, at least it's just pronounced Crystal, and that's a fairly normal name. I knew a couple Crystals growing up. Nothing about that name is unusual. The spelling might be weird, but people aren't going to hear the spelling. They're just going to hear her called Crystal all the time. And so I think that's more okay. I mean, that spelling is weird. It's going to be annoying every time. People are going to be like, roll call at school. Okay, do we have a Kirkstil 6? Like, It's going to be rough, but I don't think it's going to be awful. I mean, it's a parent's right to name their kid whatever they want, but boy, oh boy, sometimes I feel like it says a lot about a parent before the kid's even grown up, born, whatever. I can't anymore. Story 2. Dad asked for our underwear to figure out which one clogged the toilet. Hey folks, quick content warning. This next story contains some pretty disturbing child abuse, and so if you do not want to hear any of that, just scroll to the time code our editor has put on screen to skip this story. I'm not sure if this belongs on this sub, but I'm still really shaken up by it, and I need to put this somewhere people will actually read it. My dad has had a few incidents in the past, including yelling at an Amtrak employee and insulting me and my sister, but this was by far his worst one. My dad discovered that the toilet was clogged in the morning. He asked me and my sister who did it, and neither of us did it, so we said no. He told us that he knew it was one of us because there's blood in the toilet, and no one else here gets periods. Please note that while I am assigned female at birth, neither my sister or I were on our period. He at first grounded us to our rooms, but the more we didn't say anything, the angrier and more entitled he got. He proceeded to force us to stand in the hall outside of the restroom until one of us confessed, saying that he deserved answers. We were not allowed to leave to use the other bathroom or to get something to eat. We were not allowed to talk or sit down. He periodically went by and interrogated us, stepping into our personal space and trying to intimidate us. This went on for about 1 to 2 hours, maybe longer. At one point, he was interrogating us and I started crying and hyperventilating. He scoffed and said, "You wouldn't be crying if you were innocent." He then got up in my face and stared me down. I closed my eyes. He was so close I could feel his breath on my face. Eventually, he scoffed again and went away. My sister and I whispered to each other, telling each other that we didn't do it. We debated just having one of us confess anyway, but decided that we would face him together truthfully. Another 15 minutes go by and my dad comes back. He tells us that since neither of us would tell him who did it, we would have to change out of our underwear and he'd inspect it for blood, and whoever was on their period was the one who clogged the toilet. I'm sorry, what? I initially refused, but I was too scared to do anything except softly say no. He got even more peed and said that if I didn't, he'd take it as an admission of guilt. I know you guys are probably expecting me to put up a fight, but at this point I was starving and just wanted it over so I could go eat, so me and my sister complied. I wasn't wearing any underwear. It was Sunday morning and I was in my pajamas, so he made me put on a pair of pants so he could look at mine. He inspected and obviously found nothing because neither of us were on our periods. He then decided that instead of him, God forbid, being wrong about something, we must be using tampons, and that's why there was no blood. I suggested that maybe someone had cut themselves shaving. He glared at me and said in an incredibly condescending voice, "Really? That's what you think happened?" Eventually my brother came home and my dad gave up and let us go, citing some BS like, "You now have permission to go make food." I'm not sure if it was because he came to his senses or because he didn't want to punish us like that in front of other people, but I didn't really care. I was just glad that nothing else happened and I could go hide under my covers in my bedroom and cry. I didn't end up eating breakfast that day and he basically ignored us for the rest of the time we were there. Too long didn't read. My dad was convinced either me or my sister clogged the toilet because there was blood in it, even though neither of us were on our periods. He punished us and made us take off our underwear so he could inspect it for blood so he could find out who did it. So first off, that's child abuse. That's gross and that's child abuse, and who cares if one of you did do it? Who cares? It's a clogged toilet. Unclog it, move on. You deranged old man. You absolute garbage human. That's repulsive what this father did, and I think that the Child Protective Services should be called. Second, hey, old guy with anger issues, have you heard of hemorrhoids? I'm pretty sure you probably have because someone who strains as much as you has probably got them, and that can lead to blood in the toilet. So I'm gonna guess it was probably you, or maybe the son. You have a son. This happens. Good Lord. This is absolutely deranged, and folks, if you've dealt with anything like this, it's not okay. This isn't just grumpy parenting. This is child abuse, and it's disturbing. And this dad is just making me so mad. I hate this. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.